Taverns are a main staple in D&D, and I know every single DM has heard a player say they're looking to gamble while they're in the local tavern. So I have made some rules for quick and easy minigames to be played in a tavern, or by the risky shopkeeper putting his magic items on the luck of the draw. In this video, we will cover easy rules for arm wrestling, drinking games, a different twist on darts, 2 different dice games, and 2 card games, along with some rules for those players who want to play dirty and use the dice or card proficiencies for once. So let's hop right into the classic drinking game. This one is probably similar to games you have played at the table in the past, but it is nice to have rules in place so you don't need to use 100% of your mind brain to improvise a bunch of different rules on the fly. So in this classic game, each player will drink a drink the bartender provides until one is left standing. Each drink will increase in constitution difficulty, and after 2 failed rolls, they cannot drink anymore. I named each drink and gave them a little flavor, with the DCs going from 5 to 20, and in some very exotic bars, it can go up to a DC of 25. After the barbarian out-constitution checks the rest of the party, they will probably want to prove their strength to the strongest stranger in the bar with an arm wrestle. These rules are very simple, but my goal for all these games, especially the dice and card games later in the video, were simple, quick, and easy to play in the midst of a session, without taking away from the rest of the game time. For an arm wrestle, each player will have to make a strength saving throw. The first player to win 3 checks wins the game, which seems simple enough, but there's a way to win without being the strongest. That's where my playing dirty rule comes in. The player can roll a check that makes sense in the roleplay scenario, and they must succeed on a DC 15 up to a DC 18, depending on the DM's discretion. If they succeed a roll, they get 1 bonus specific to each game they're playing. For example, the wizard can cast thaumaturgy to make a loud noise that will distract their opponent to gain advantage on the round, gaining an easy point in the arm wrestle. Or the rogue could sleight of hand the drink to the side without drinking it, getting a free pass on that round of the drinking game. These are simple tricks to make your D&D stats still matter in these mini games. Moving on to darts. And after this, we will dive into 2 dice games and 2 card games. But for darts, I could have just made it the highest dexterity check wins, but I didn't really feel like that was a mini game. It just felt like every other check in D&D. So what I did was each player gets 3 darts, and they must make 3 dexterity throws. The player that gets the 3 numbers closest to each other wins. So 2 5s and a 7 beats an 18, a 15, and a 13. But I know what you're thinking. So it doesn't matter if you're good at dexterity? Well, for this game, you can re-roll dice depending on your dexterity score. If you have a +1 or a +2, you can re-roll 1 dice. But a super monk with dexterity of a +3 to a +5 can re-roll 2 darts. This way, it still feels like a game, but incorporates the skills of other characters. So your players have gotten drunk, arm wrestled, and played games of darts. But what if they want to sit down and challenge that shady guy in the corner of the bar to a couple gambling games? And just quickly, if you're enjoying this video so far, please like and subscribe. It would really help me out. For my first dice game, I'm simply calling it Chance Dice. In this game, each player bets an amount of money and rolls 2d6. The highest roll wins, but there's a twist. If the roll is doubles, they get a 3rd number for free. So double 2s beat a 2 and a 3. Super simple rules that doesn't really break up much of the game time, but still has that gambling feeling to it. But this game is a free-for-all. Any player can win. But let's talk about a dice game with a dealer. This game would be great for shady merchants that will only give out information if they lose the game. I'm calling it Death Doubles. In this game, the dealer decides on the type of currency: copper, silver, or gold. If silver is chosen, the pot starts at 0 silver pieces. The dealer rolls 2d6, and the players roll a d12. If the player rolls lower than the dealer, then they must add 1 coin of the agreed upon currency. And if the dealer rolls lower than the players, then they must add as many coins as players that beat them. Any players that roll lower than the dealer when the dealer rolls a double is eliminated and must add 1 coin before leaving the table. The dealer must eliminate all the players to win. For the players to win, all remaining players must roll higher than the dealer, and then they can split the pot. So the more players the dealer eliminates, the harder it is for them to win. This game has stakes and provides a different niche of game for your players. I could totally see this game being used by an evil master of trickery villain. For my first card game, we will need all the 10s, the jacks, the queens, the kings, and the aces, plus 2 jokers. And for the second one, we will take the remainder of the deck. I did this because you can split the deck into these 2 game decks and keep it like that in your DM kit. This way, when your players want to play, you will always be ready for each game. For the first game, it's very simple. Each player gets dealt 1 card. Then, 1 card is laid face down on the table. You will do this 3 times, until it looks something like this. Then the players can trade any amount of cards for new cards. And once this is done, the player closest to 4 of the same wins the game. If you're playing dirty and you roll a success, you can look through the deck for 1 specific card you want. And this game I'm calling Royal Court. I think this game feels classy, and your players will want to definitely beat that snobby shopkeeper to get a discount. For my last minigame in D&D, I have made a card game that's a little more complicated but still very cool. Using the remainder of the deck, deal 4 cards to each player, then place 4 cards face down on the table in a square. The play goes in a circle. The first player can flip over 1 card on the table, and like Uno, they can place 1 card matching the number or the suit of the card. The next player can play a card on top of that card or flip over a different card and try to lay a card on that one. If the player cannot play on any cards and has already flipped over a card, then they get skipped. The player that gets rid of all their cards first wins. This game is a little more complicated, but still fast-paced as to not interrupt the play session too much. I could see this game being used at a fancy ball where your players go undercover like some sort of heist movie. And for each of these games, there is a way to play dirty and cheat to win. So those players with proficiencies in dice sets or cards still have the upper hand. Check out all the rules for these games in my Discord, link down in the description. See you on the next one.